All right, let's talk about ransomware. But I need you to do me a favor. Take whatever image you have in your head of a locked screen and a simple ransom note and just throw it out. Because that whole idea is dangerously out of date. And over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you why what's happening now is a whole lot more sinister.
So I've got to ask you, when you hear that word ransomware, what's the first thing that pops into your mind? Is it just locked files? Paying some anonymous hacker to get your data back? Because for a long, long time, that's exactly what it was. But that's not the world we live in anymore. The game has totally changed.
Yeah, not even close. Any more of that old way of thinking, it's not just wrong, it's a huge liability. See, if you're only worried about locked files, you're completely missing the point of modern attacks. These things aren't designed to just lock you out. They're designed to tear down your entire reputation, and honestly, your business from the inside out.
Okay, so let's dive into what this new playbook actually looks like. We're going to break down a strategy that security pros have given a pretty intense name. They call it nuclear badness, and trust me, it has earned that name.
So, what on earth is nuclear badness? Well, think of it this way. Locking your files, that's the last thing they do. It's almost an afterthought. The real mission is total data theft, public humiliation, and bringing your operations to a grinding halt. And here's the kicker, the part you really need to get. This entire strategy is built to make your backups completely, utterly useless.
Let's just look at their checklist, right? First, they're not just encrypting your data, they are stealing it, all of it. Your intellectual property, your trade secrets, gone. Then, they hoover up every single credential they can find, business passwords, employee logins, even your customer data. And what do they do with it? They start threatening your people directly. They use your stolen data and your email accounts to send hyper-convincing scam emails to your partners. And then, the final threat. If you don't pay up, they will shame you publicly by leaking everything. It's pure, multi-layered extortion.
So how does an attack like this actually play out, step by step? That brings us to the anatomy of a modern attack. We're going from the very first breach all the way to the blackmail.
You can really boil this whole process down to 3 stages. It all starts with the initial breach. Usually, someone gets tricked into clicking a link or opening a bad attachment. Pretty standard stuff. But then comes the really scary part. The part most people don't think about. Dwell and steal. The attacker gets in, and then they just stay. They hide on your network, sometimes for months, silently watching, collecting passwords, and siphoning out all your valuable data. It's only after they have everything they could possibly want that they finally flip the switch and move to stage 3, encrypt and extort.
And if you want a number that should really keep you up at night, here it is. The average dwell time, that's how long an attacker is camped out inside a network before anyone even notices they're there, is between 8 and 12 months. A year. I mean, just think about that. This is not a smash and grab robbery. This is like someone breaking into your house, living in your walls for a year, learning all your secrets, and then deciding to burn it all down?
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Some lone hacker in a hoodie, right? Nope, not even close. Which brings us to the ransomware business model. We're talking about highly organized, sophisticated criminal enterprises that honestly operate a lot like a Fortune 500 company. The whole industry basically runs on a model called Ransomware as a Service, or RAS. And the best way to think about it is like a malicious franchise. You have a central company, the developer, that creates the nasty software, the attack tools, the whole package. Then they lease that package out to other criminals who they call affiliates. Those affiliates go out, run the attacks, and then they kick back a percentage of the profits to the main developer. It's franchising, but for crime. And this whole ecosystem, it is incredibly specialized. You've got the developers, right? They're the brains. They build the ransomware. You've got the affiliates, the boots on the ground who actually attack the victims. But then you also have access brokers, whose only job is to sell stolen passwords to get the affiliates in the door. You've got separate tool developers making supporting software. You have crypto brokers, whose entire job is to launder the money. And get this, they'd even have dedicated tech support and PR teams to help their affiliates and manage their brand reputation. It is a full-blown professional industry.
So when you're up against an operation like that, it creates what feels like an impossible choice for the victim. So let's flip the script and look at this from their perspective. This is the high cost of paying.
Okay, before we get into the weeds on this, I have to give you the single most important piece of advice from every expert out there. And it's simple. Consult a lawyer. Seriously. Because the decision to pay or not to pay isn't just a financial one, it is an absolute legal minefield. And here is why.
The U.S. Treasury has an office called OFAC, and they've issued a pretty stark warning. Paying a ransom could actually be illegal. If the group that attacked you is on an official government sanctions list and you pay them, you could be the one violating federal law. And guess who's on that list? The groups behind massive attacks you've probably heard of, like WannaCry and CryptoLocker. So you could end up breaking the law. And here's the worst part. There is absolutely no guarantee that the criminals will give you back your data or keep their promise not to leak it.
So, how do you avoid ever having to make that impossible choice to begin with? Well, that's what this is all about. This brings us to our final, and frankly, most important section, your most critical defenses.
Take a look at this. This chart shows the root causes of these ransomware attacks. And what's the first thing you see? That giant bar on the left? It's not some super complex zero-day exploit. It's social engineering. It's tricking a person. That's followed by attacks on insecure remote connections, and then, way down at the end, unpatched software. The takeaway here is huge. The biggest vulnerability isn't the tech, it's people.
And that tells us exactly where we need to focus our defenses, right? If the number one way in is by tricking people, then our number one defense has to be about mitigating social engineering. We have to get better at helping people spot the tricks. After that, it's about the fundamentals, the blocking and tackling of security. Keep your internet-facing software patched, use multi-factor authentication or MFA everywhere you possibly can, teach your users how to spot sketchy URLs, and finally, lock things down. Make sure people only have access to the absolute minimum data they need to do their jobs.
So I'm going to leave you with one final question that really brings this all home. Knowing what we know now, then an attacker could be hiding in your network for 8, maybe 12 months, completely undetected. Ask yourself this: what would they have learned by now? What secrets, what passwords, what crucial data would they already have in their possession? Really thinking about that? That's the first step to building a defense that actually works.